Well, let's jump in, man. What, the book title to me in itself speaks a lot when you say from 0 to 7 figures, because people often want to know the from and to. But what made you write this book?
Yeah. So actually, first of all, my personal story, man, born to a teenage mom in poverty in Memphis, Tennessee, grew up around gangs, violence, crime, etc. Many people can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
My brother has had encounters with the justice system. My roommates from college, my best friend from high school and middle school, blah 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 blah. So for me, the idea of deliberate focus and deliberate practice was first and foremost the thing that got me out of those conditions. And then
Mm-hmm.
secondly, I had an encounter with corporate America early on, James, and realized that corporate America wasn't for me. So I really started venturing, if you will, in my early 20s from nonprofit work and business work. And I've been doing it for the last 20 years. So what has
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
is so many people will reach out and say, hey, man, how did you? How did you become the first entrepreneur? How did you become this? How did you become that? And so I decided to write the book because I wanted to create a low cost resource for
Mm.
people who couldn't afford my coaching fees. And frankly, I just can't coach everybody.
Right.
Right. And so the intent was, man, how do I take all that I've been blessed to learn, in starting and scaling a 7-figure business from scratch with a phone and a laptop, but also I've run multiple, multi 7-figure enterprises over my career. And so I've been in the thick of it, grassroots, from scratch, from the bottom, from the mud,
Yes.
as they say, running small businesses, and wanted to help others who had that aspiration.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And if you had it your way and you were looking back a year from now, 2, 3 years from now, what would you want to be able to say about the impact of the book? What's going to make you feel pleased with the work?
Man, that so many people had who lacked confidence that they
Yeah.
in fact could start and scale a business. My goal is that those people, this book would help them overcome their confidence barriers
Mm.
and actually take the leap to start their business, but also support them on their journey to actually scaling and growing their businesses.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, man, I've got some things that jumped out to me. I did a lot of highlighting in the book. I'm still a guy who likes to, write in the margins, highlight things. And I want to ask you, man, about a couple things in the
Okay,
book, if you don't mind.
sure.
So I quote you, most people make two mistakes. They overestimate who they are and in turn underestimate who they have the capacity to become. Man, there is so much in that. Please
Yes.
unpack that a little bit.
Yep. So, man, I'll always bring it back to me first to make people feel comfortable, right? So,
Yeah.
starting with myself, because I was born in the conditions I was born in, single mom, teenage mom, dad wasn't in my life, etc. One of the things I did was I overhyped myself
Mm,
in honor of my insecurities,
mm,
right? And so, James, it wasn't until I came to grips with, okay, Anthony, be honest. What are the areas in your life that are broken, that are traumatic, etc., that are creating barriers to your success? And James, when I was honest with those things, I was able to address those things. So
yeah, yeah.
tons of therapy, tons of coaching, tons of
Mm,
mentorship. I became a voracious reader, a voracious learner, an aggressive learner, right? And so I was overestimating who I actually was. And so I needed to calibrate and in order to humble myself so that I could correct the areas of opportunity. But then upon doing so, it's like, wait a minute, I
mm,
actually do have the ability to do some of all the things that I was talking about doing. I now have the ability to actually do.
yeah.
And so the shift for me was, man, I don't want to talk about wealth. I want to be wealthy.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about success. I want to
Mm,
be successful.
mm.
And most of us will spend time talking about it at the expense of actually being equipped and doing the work to actually become the thing that we say we
Yeah.
want to become.
Man, that's good. How old were you when you had that moment of asking yourself to be real with yourself?
You know what? I've had a series of moments like that. I would say
Mm,
the first moment was when I was 24.
mm-hmm.
The first big major turning point was when I was 24. The second big turning point was around 2015. So back up 2002. 2001, 2002 was a major turning point.
Yeah.
And then another major turning point was around 2015. So the point is, it's like God allowed me to have some success and then have to take a step back and go, okay, wait, you've hit a wall, you've hit a barrier,
Yeah.
you've plateaued. Now you need to take a step back again, reevaluate, reassess, focus on where you need to grow and develop, and then take it to the next level all over again.
That's good. That's good. And that first one at the age of 24, what prompted it?
Pain.
Say
So,
more.
so I was in corporate America.
Uh-huh.
I'd had the number one. So here I am, 23 years old when the journey began. I had the number one territory in the country for RJ Reynolds Tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, a Fortune 100 company. I was the number one cigarette pusher in the country, and I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. But man, I could sell. I graduated college
Yeah.
student of the year. My major, I was a sales major. And man, I could sell anything. I could sell ice to an Eskimo as a sample. And I realized that here I was pushing something that I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I here? And that's when I got in touch with the fact that it was all about the money and the cars and the clothes and and I was living a false narrative and a false dream. And I was miserable.